So it's been a bit of a crazy couple of weeks. As you can see, there has been a major change in the fish room in that I'm missing a tank here to my left. Unfortunately, just over a week ago, the tank base completely cracked and I had quite a significant flood in the fish room. It took out some of the power. Obviously, the fish had to be removed, the tank drained. And yeah, it's just not been ideal. So it means I haven't managed to do a whole lot in the fish room recently, and I've just been focusing on getting everything back to how it was. For those of you that don't know, this tank did house my group of Colombian zebraplex, or the L129s. I had 4 adults and an unknown number of juveniles, which I've had to catch out and move whilst draining the water out and removing this tank from the rack. I've moved the adults up into this tank. They're now sharing with the 6-banded barbs. It's not ideal for them, but it was just the only place I could think they could go that I could easily get them back out once I had a tank for them. The offspring, the juveniles, are behind me in the spare quarantine tank that wasn't using. So I've added 2 of the plec caves in there, and they are doing well. And I've counted, I think, possibly up to about 20 little babies in there. I'm not sure how many I had to begin with, but I'm going to choose to believe that I found them all in the mad rush that it was trying to drain the tank and catch all the fish out. Luckily, being catfish, they did go into the caves and I could lift up the caves and get most of them out that way. Now, the tanks that are all on this rack, so there was 6 of them, were all really old second-hand tanks. They're over 10 years old. They're not the thickest of glass, and yeah, as you can see, that they are not supported by a full base. They are on these foam around the edges. That's because they're all drilled at the bottom, which you may have seen in my fish room tour video, meaning that they just couldn't sit on a shelf without having some holes drilled in the shelf and all sorts of other things. So for 10 years, they've been sat on something like this, and obviously today was, well, last week was the time that it was no longer suitable. Looking at the way the tank's cracked and the position of some of the rocks, I think possibly a small detailing stone has dropped below some egg crate, which I had in there to support all that rock work and spread the weight out and stop them sitting directly on the glass. Potentially got in between the bits of the egg crate, and a large rock sat on top of that, causing all the weight to go onto one small area of the glass and causing that crack. It was either that or generally the weight of the tank only being supported by the front and sides and back meant that the glass was just slowly bending and then cracked from that way. Obviously, having a hole drilled in the tank for a return gives the base a bit of a weak point, and yeah, I'm not sure which one caused the crack, but one of those I think is probably to blame. Now, I do have a spare tank with exactly the same dimensions, same age. It's just a mirror, a copy of these ones. Sat out in the garden. It's been out there for about a year now. So it has been exposed to the weather and hot and cold temperatures and stuff. So I'm not sure I completely trust it. It definitely needs to be tested outside before bringing it in anyway to see if it's still watertight. But to be honest, I'm now getting a bit scared. Although none of these tanks have the same amount of rock and weights to them, I'm still a little bit worried now it's happened once that it could happen again. So I am also considering replacing this with a heavy-duty board and then getting a non-drilled tank to sit on top of it of similar dimensions, which is about 90 centimetres by 30 centimetres by 30 centimetres. I think that's a 90L, but I'm not entirely sure on those sorts of names. So yeah, potentially I need to invest in a new tank just for my insanity, but the other option is that I can bring in the spare tank from outside and give it a go and hope that it supports itself. But I probably won't be doing the same hardscape layout with all that stonework. I might keep it a little bit more simple and stick to the wood, which is a bit lighter. But yeah, once I've decided and got everything that I need to sort that tank out, I'll be reinstalling it. The filter that I was running is next to me. That's all been cleaned out and fully emptied. So I'll be starting completely from scratch as and when I do this. But yeah, just wanted to give you a quick update of what's going on in the fish room and why I'm going to be a bit quiet from now. Because yeah, it's all just been quite busy, quite hectic, and it's only going to get busier throughout the summer. I've got a lot going on. So yeah, I am in the process of building a new tank, so I will get to that when I get a moment. It's half done. So yeah, other than that, thanks for watching, and let me know if you know of any good tanks that are about 90 centimeters by 30 centimeters that might fit here, because if I can find a reasonably priced one, that may make up my decision.